Most gardeners believe compost needs heat to work. They wait for piles to steam, turn them constantly, and hope the temperature climbs high enough to break everything down quickly. But, that obsession with heat is quietly costing gardens a massive amount of nutrients. When compost heats up aggressively, a lot of nitrogen escapes into the air. Beneficial microbes die off, and many nutrients that plants actually need become unstable or lost before they ever reach the soil. The pile shrinks, but what's left is often far less powerful than what you started with. There's a different method that almost no one talks about in mainstream gardening circles. It doesn't rely on heat at all. Instead, it uses controlled fermentation to preserve nutrients, multiply beneficial microbes, and create a soil amendment that can outperform traditional compost in many situations. Before we get deeper into that, there's one small tool that has helped me avoid one of the biggest mistakes gardeners make when managing soil biology. I regularly use a 4-in-1 soil moisture meter that measures soil moisture, soil temperature, pH, and sunlight intensity. The reason it matters is simple. Microbial activity, whether in compost, fermentation, or living soil, depends heavily on moisture and temperature balance. If soil gets too dry or too wet, the biology crashes. Being able to quickly check those conditions removes a lot of guesswork. I'll leave the exact one I use in the description if you want to check it out. Now let's talk about the method that quietly changed the way I recycle organic waste in my garden. And if you're someone who cares about building real soil instead of just following gardening trends, consider subscribing, because this channel focuses on techniques that actually improve yields over time. The fermentation method I'm talking about is often called bokashi, but most explanations barely scratch the surface of why it works so well. What's really happening is controlled microbial fermentation instead of decomposition. Traditional composting relies on oxygen and heat to break organic matter down. Fermentation does something completely different. It preserves nutrients while beneficial microbes transform organic waste into a highly active biological material. The first time I tested this method was in a raised bed garden, where I was already producing decent compost. I wasn't expecting dramatic results, but within one growing season, the difference in soil structure and plant vigor was obvious. The key reason fermentation works so well is that nutrients are not burned off through heat. They are stabilized inside the organic material until they enter the soil ecosystem, and that changes everything. Most gardeners really underestimate just how much nitrogen is lost during hot composting. When your compost piles reach temperatures above about 140 degrees Fahrenheit, ammonia actually starts escaping into the air. And, well, that nitrogen was supposed to feed your plants. Fermentation, on the other hand, keeps that nitrogen locked in place. Instead of oxidation and heat breaking things down, microbes go to work and convert organic waste into a fermented material that's rich in organic acids, enzymes, and all sorts of beneficial bacteria. When that material enters soil, microbial populations explode. This is one of the reasons fermented organic matter often produces faster plant responses than finished compost. Now here's where most people get the process wrong. They think fermentation means throwing food scraps into a bucket and waiting. That's not enough. Successful fermentation depends on the right microbial inoculation and proper layering. The system I use in my garden is simple but precise. I collect kitchen scraps, garden trimmings, and even small amounts of weeds. These materials go into a sealed fermentation bucket. Each layer of scraps gets lightly sprinkled with a microbial bran inoculant. The bran contains beneficial microbes like lactic acid bacteria and yeast that drive the fermentation process. Those microbes immediately start converting sugars and proteins into stable organic compounds. The bucket stays sealed to keep oxygen out. That anaerobic environment is what allows fermentation instead of decomposition. After about 10 to 14 days, the material inside the bucket is fully fermented. Now, it doesn't look like finished compost. Yeah, you can still recognize some of the food scraps, but chemically and biologically, it has completely changed. This fermented material is incredibly powerful when introduced into soil. But there's an important step many gardeners skip, and honestly, skipping it can actually harm plants. Fermented waste should never be applied directly around roots. The material is acidic and still biologically active. It needs to finish its transformation inside the soil. What I do instead is bury it in trenches within garden beds. In raised beds, I dig trenches about 8 to 10 inches deep. The fermented material goes into the trench, and then it's covered with soil. Within 2 to 3 weeks, soil organisms fully integrate the material. Earthworms move in quickly. Microbial populations expand, and the soil begins forming stable aggregates that improve water retention. The change in soil texture alone is worth paying attention to. Beds that receive fermented organic matter become darker, softer, and honestly, noticeably more resilient during hot weather. And that leads to one of the hidden benefits of fermentation-based soil building: improved moisture retention. Gardens with strong microbial ecosystems hold water better because organic matter binds soil particles into aggregates that trap moisture. So what this really means is fewer watering cycles and, a lot less plant stress during those tough heat waves. I noticed this especially in my tomato and cucumber beds. Before I started using fermentation amendments, those beds needed frequent watering during the peak of summer heat. But after 2 seasons of adding fermented organic material, the soil actually held on to moisture much longer between irrigations. That's exactly the kind of change that boosts yields without having to rely on synthetic fertilizers. Another big advantage here is how fermentation can handle materials that, honestly, traditional compost just struggles with. Things like cooked food scraps, dairy residue, citrus peels, and even small bones can all be safely fermented. Those materials normally attract pests or slow down compost piles. Fermentation breaks them down safely inside a sealed environment. When buried in soil, they quickly integrate into the biological system. This dramatically expands the amount of organic waste that can be recycled into productive garden inputs. Now let's address something that often concerns gardeners when they first learn about fermentation: the smell. Proper fermentation actually produces a slightly sweet, pickled smell. It shouldn't stink. If the material smells rotten, something went wrong with moisture levels or oxygen exposure. That's where monitoring soil moisture and environmental conditions can help prevent problems, especially once the material is buried in beds. Again, this is why I regularly check soil conditions with a meter instead of guessing. Small adjustments in moisture and soil balance make a huge difference when you're managing biological processes. Over the past few years, I've tested fermented organic matter across raised beds, container gardens, and even microbial teas used in hydroponic media. Each system responded differently, but the underlying principles stayed the same. When you preserve nutrients and support microbial diversity, plants perform better. Roots grow deeper, soil becomes more resilient, and nutrient cycling becomes far more efficient. One interesting observation from my trials involved pepper plants. In beds treated with fermented organic matter, Peppers consistently produce thicker stems and more flower clusters compared to beds receiving only hot compost. The difference wasn't subtle. Microbial activity in the soil was clearly driving stronger nutrient uptake. This is something many gardeners overlook. Healthy soil biology is not just about decomposition. It's really about building an ecosystem where microbes, fungi, and plant roots all cooperate together. Fermentation methods introduce large populations of beneficial microbes that kind of jumpstart that ecosystem. And over time, the soil becomes more self-sustaining. And that leads to one of the most important lessons experienced gardeners eventually learn. The goal isn't simply to add fertilizer. The real goal is to build living soil. When soil biology is active and balanced, nutrients cycle naturally. Plants become more resilient to disease, and gardens require fewer external inputs to stay productive. Fermentation is just one powerful tool for reaching that point. But honestly, understanding why it works is what truly changes the way you approach gardening. Once you start paying attention to microbial activity, moisture balance, and organic inputs, your garden begins functioning less like a collection of plants and more like a complete ecosystem. And that's when yields really start improving. If you found this useful and want more practical, experience-tested techniques for building stronger soil and healthier gardens, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you know someone who's struggling to get real results from their compost, share this video with them. Sometimes the biggest improvements in gardening come from questioning the advice everyone else takes for granted.